Welcome back to The Explainer. Listen, take a look around you. Life isn't always fair, is it? In fact, if we look closely at the undercurrents of everyday human interaction, it's pretty clear that life is often a silent battlefield. The quiet truth is that the world doesn't simply hand out rewards just for having good intentions or a kind heart. No, it respects strategy. It respects power. So, in this explainer, we're decoding the final, absolutely most potent laws of power derived from Machiavelli's timeless observations. These are the rules built specifically for the modern shadow architect. And this reality forces a really harsh but entirely necessary question. Are you playing the game, or are you being played? Because every single day, if you don't know the rules, someone out there is quietly outsmarting you. It could be a coworker smiling right at you while taking credit for your ideas, or maybe a friend harboring secret envy. If you aren't completely dialed into these dynamics, you are the one being played. But we're going to change that right now. All right, let's kick things off with Act 1, the armor of illusion. In this first phase, we're focusing entirely on how the world perceives you, starting with Law 15, always appear strong. You see, power is, above all else, a matter of perception. People believe what they see, not necessarily what's actually true. If you look weak, the world is going to instinctively treat you as weak. It's just human nature. But if you project strength, even in your absolute hardest, most vulnerable moments, people will hesitate to challenge you. Okay, let's dive into this, because this is where the real discipline starts. Suffer in silence. Look, life is full of storms, unexpected losses, and bitter setbacks. We all go through it. But the truly powerful, they never, ever let the world see them break. They process their pain, their anger, all those betrayals strictly behind closed doors. They absolutely refuse to broadcast their vulnerability for enemies to exploit. Instead, they rise in public. You've got to project this illusion of absolute invincibility. When you walk into a room, you hold your posture like a fortress. You speak calmly, you move with deep purpose, and you carry yourself as if literally nothing can shake you. Think about it. Most people only attack when they sense a crack in the armor. By rising in public, your confidence literally becomes your shield. Machiavelli actually hit the nail on the head when he said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." Controlling the story that others believe is your ultimate defense. You are the author of your own perception. Out in public, you're a mountain, unmovable. What happens behind the scenes? Well, that is your fiercely guarded private business. Now, if your armor is strength, your actual strategy has to be Law 20. Always leave them guessing. Predictability is a fatal weakness. The very second people can map out your patterns, they can read your next move. And if they can read it, they can trap you. It's like this. When you're predictable, you are a walking target. People know exactly when you'll react, what you're going to say, and where you'll be. But when you are unpredictable, that mystery becomes a massive shield. You weaponize the unknown. You change up your routines, you pause before you speak, you actually smile when they expect you to be furious. Mystery forces respect, because human beings naturally fear what they simply cannot calculate. Which brings us to a slightly darker but highly effective concept, Law 17, use fear to keep people in line. Now, let's be very clear here. We're not talking about ruling with cruelty or acting like some crazy tyrant. It's about ensuring a small, very subtle dose of fear exists in the background, just so people don't get careless, overly bold, or start crossing your established boundaries. Machiavelli famously noted, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." So why is that? Well, love makes people just a little too comfortable. If everyone feels completely safe around you, eventually they're going to test your limits, for sure. But fear, and I mean the subtle fear of losing your favor or facing the swift consequences of disrespecting you, that keeps people alert. It maintains a necessary order. Moving on to Act 2, the Empire in the Shadows. We're shifting the narrative inward now to Law 16, build power in the shadows. Real power rarely announces itself. Honestly, the people who are super loud, who constantly brag, boast, and show off, they are almost always the first ones to fall. Why? Because they expose their foundations to the world way before those foundations are actually strong enough to withstand an attack. Instead of all that noise, you need to master the quiet rise. Look at these tactics for a second. You make your connections secretly, you acquire your skills, and gather your resources entirely out of sight. You let the world believe you are completely, totally ordinary, right up until the exact moment you become untouchable. You only strike when success is practically guaranteed. When you build your empire where no one is watching, your eventual move is a total paralyzing shock to your competitors. And to successfully build in those shadows, you must master Law 18, control information. The person who controls the flow of information literally controls the game itself, period. Oversharing is hands down the quickest way to destroy your own leverage. The loudest people usually know the least, and they willingly give away all their power just by talking way too much. And this brilliantly illustrates how the truly powerful handle knowledge: misdirection. You filter the truth. You feed people only what directly serves your strategy. By giving them carefully selected, bite-sized pieces of information, you keep your enemies busy chasing shadows while you're out there making your real moves behind the scenes. People simply cannot attack what they do not understand. But as you build this shadow empire, you're inevitably going to face internal threats. Law 19 dictates, cut off weakness without mercy. Weakness spreads like a disease. If you surround yourself with the wrong people, their negative energy is going to infect you, slow your moves down, and completely drain your focus. Carrying dead weight is the absolute enemy of clarity and forward momentum. So we have to ruthlessly categorize these weak links. First, you have the lazy. They will constantly slow your moves down and make endless excuses. Then, the fearful. They'll completely drain your focus with their constant nagging anxiety. And finally, the disloyal. They infect your energy, and honestly, they're just waiting to betray you when the price is right. These types of people, they must be quickly and quietly removed from your inner circle for your own survival. Let's just pause our rapid pacing for a second here and really reflect on this. If you disappeared tomorrow, would your presence still be felt? It's a pretty heavy question, isn't it? Because if the answer is no, then you are playing the game way too small. You're just reacting to today rather than actively building for tomorrow. Which brings us to our final phase, Act 3, the immortal echo. We're pivoting now to the ultimate goal of long-term dominion. This right here is the essence of Law 21, leave a legacy of power, not noise. We live in a modern culture that is completely obsessed with living loud. People are just desperate for constant attention. They get into petty arguments, they fight fiercely for small, meaningless victories that vanish the very second they're over. Guys, it's all just noise. The contrast between the two is staggering. Living loud is just chasing temporary applause. Honestly, the loudest man in the room is almost always the one who burns out first. Playing for a legacy, however, that's about building permanent influence. It's the quiet strategist who ignores all the petty drama, deliberately plans seeds for the future, and eventually achieves a status that is utterly untouchable, even in their absence. And this leads to a really fascinating realization from Machiavelli. He said, "The best fortress is to be found in the love of the people." So while a small dose of fear is a great tool for immediate, short-term order, true, lasting power, your actual legacy, isn't about the noise you make today. It's the lasting echo you leave behind. It's the profound influence you establish and the deep respect you command when you no longer even need to speak a word. Here is the core takeaway of this entire explainer. Power isn't taken. It is quietly, methodically built. Every single time you choose silence over speaking out of turn, every time you wear that armor of strength during a storm, and every calculated move you make in the shadows, you are adding another stone to the throne you are quietly constructing. Look, the world is a complex game of masks, hidden moves, and quiet wars. And the game has already started, whether you realize it or not. Just remember, the absolute most dangerous player on the board is the one nobody can read and the one nobody can stop thinking about. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought today.